Recapping Week 9 in the Big Ten.
College football is back, and we're back on the big mountain.
Hey, it's good to have you back on the mountain. We are through 9 weeks of the college football season. We want to recap the Big Ten in Week 9. I know Steve has some games. He wants to go over a pretty big week, some pretty big games, so take it away.
Like you said, big week in the Big Ten. A lot of the heavyweights, they held serve, some a little easier than others. So I did go 5-4 this week, 2-1 on my locks. So pretty good betting week in the Big Ten. Wasn't perfect. So Michigan State let me down a little bit, but they did fight the good fight.
Yep.
But there's 4 games I want to talk about. I want to roll right away, first thing, into Washington at Indiana. Noon game on Saturday on BTN. Great coverage, great crowd. The place was a sellout. It was fantastic. Kirk Cignetti and his Indiana Hoosiers come into this game 7-0. They win 31-17 to go to 8-0. The line was 6.5. I thought this line was absolutely crazy.
Right.
I think I told you I would have locked it up at like 11.5.
Right.
Well, they ended up winning by 15 points. So, Indiana's now 8-0. They have never trailed in the season. This entire season, not 1 second of game time have they trailed. Absolutely crazy. They did it a little differently this week than other weeks. Curtis Rourke was out, as we've talked about.
Yeah.
Taven Jackson came in. He did a good job. He's not as polished at running this offense. Doesn't have the anticipation that Curtis Rourke, but he hit some good throws. He played well. But the Hoosiers did it a little bit more with their running game and their defense this week. And we've talked about how Indiana is just a super balanced team. And you really saw that. They didn't have Rourke, and they didn't have maybe that super efficient passing offense, but they had enough of a passing offense to still make some plays, and their running game was great, and their defense. Just want to talk about their defense coming up big. The biggest play of the game, and what really kind of game change. I don't know if it was a game changer because Washington never really threatened to win, but the play that kind of broke this thing open was the pick 6 by D'Angelo Pons, number 5. You texted me and said number 5 is a baller, a ball hawk or something.
Yeah, ball hawk.
Yeah, ball hawk. He had 2 interceptions in this game, and actually he could have had about 3 or 4 easily. But that one was a pick 6, and it was just a beautiful shot. I don't know if you caught that on the game where he intercepts it, and they open up to the big view, running 80 yards down the field or whatever, and the crowd's going wild. It was just an awesome moment for the Indiana Hoosiers. Really happy for them. And this week they win it with the running game, with the defense, and they go to 8-0 after beating Washington 31-17, which was a big lock hit for us, a big money maker.
Yes.
We've been riding that Indiana Hoosier train all season. We're going to keep doing that. So the next game I want to talk about was kind of the opposite. Ohio State comes in as a top 5 ranked team. Nebraska actually comes to do the horseshoe in Columbus to visit them.
Yeah.
I took Nebraska plus 25.5. I told you in our picks thing. Ohio State just came in with some weird injuries, just looking off. The problems on the offensive line. Their starting left tackle is out for the season, which is never a good thing. And they were already, their offensive line wasn't looking great.
Yeah.
So they did get the win here. It was 21-17. Nebraska had a couple chances in the fourth quarter to score a touchdown, and Ohio State's defense came through. That was the one lone bright shining object for Ohio State this week was their defense. They did come through, but Nebraska had 18 first downs. Ohio State only 11. Rushing yards, Nebraska ran for 121 rushing yards. Ohio State only ran for 64. The difference in this was Ohio State was able to hit a long touchdown to Smith, the really good freshman everyone's talking about, Geno Smith's nephew.
Yeah.
They hit him behind the defense, and honestly, if they wouldn't have hit that play behind the Nebraska defense, they would not have won this game. Nebraska had a lot of chances. Dylan Raiola played really good with his arms and his leg. He ended up throwing the interception to kind of seal the deal there, and the Ohio State defense came up. But if you're a Buckeye fan, you got to be worried. They had, I think, 2 more injuries on the offensive line. So we said their starting left tackle was out for the season. Well, the guy that replaced him is now out possibly for the season.
Wow.
They have been moving some guards over to tackle, moving people around, and their offensive line is just looking kind of like a shambles right now. So the next game I want to go to is Illinois at Oregon.
Yeah.
I hit on the Nebraska plus the points.
Right.
This one I took Illinois plus 21.5. I really thought Oregon just would not have a lot of motivation to really put their foot on the gas, and Illinois just being a solid all-around team that has played well, they could keep it within that margin. But oh boy, was I wrong. Oregon said, nope, we want to score all the points.
Right.
So they end up winning 38-9. They just dominated Illinois. And really, this game was led by Dylan Gabriel. It was 18 of 26, 291 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was doing anything and everything that he wanted. Yeah. Those skill position players for Oregon we've been talking about. He was distributing the ball to them wherever he wanted. He would, making plays with his arms, with his arm and his legs, whatever he wanted to do. This offense was just rolling, and the defense played really good, keeping Illinois down to 9 points. Mm-hmm. So Oregon, they showed they're definitely the number one team in the country. And so they end up winning by 29, so we didn't hit that bet. But again, Oregon just keeps on rolling, showing where they're at. And Dylan Gabriel, he's moving up that list on the Heisman Trophy list. So we'll see how that goes. The last game I wanted to talk about. Okay, Penn State traveling to Wisconsin, night game, Camp Randall Stadium. Penn State was a 6.5-point favorite. I locked this game. Mm-hmm. I said Penn State's just a better team. Which strongly believed coming in, and I really think that was the case, because they ended up winning 28-13. However, they were down 10-7 at half.
Right.
Their Penn State's starting quarterback Drew Aller, he goes out with a knee injury in the first half. Their number one defensive end, Dennis Sutton, goes out with a groin injury, and their starting right tackle, maybe their most talented offensive lineman, goes out in the first half, re-aggravated a shoulder injury. So they got to come in the second half, backup quarterback, backup right tackle, backups all over the place, down 10-7. They come back out. Bo Perbula comes out. He goes 11 of 13 for 98 yards and a touchdown. Really did a great job of running the offense. He does not have the arm strength that Drew Aller does. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have that prototypical NFL arm, but he's, faster, more mobile. He showed that. He was a danger. Wisconsin defense, he kind of put them on their heels because they had to account for his speed, especially when he got the edge. And, he made those pass plays. Some of them he squeezed some balls into some tight windows, but he made the plays when he needed to. And really, overall, Penn State had 419 yards to Wisconsin's 298 yards. But the big story was, for me, the Penn State defense. Wisconsin came in this game averaging over 200 yards rushing per game. Penn State kept them to 81 yards, so less than half of what they what they had been achieving. And Penn State ran for 173. So in a night where both quarterbacks played well, Drew Aller had a really good stat line in the first half, even though they were trailing. Bo Perbula in the second half had a good stat line, but the running game, 173 yards, and that defense, my oh my, the pressure that they put the Wisconsin quarterback on in the second half, they just shut them down. Wisconsin only had, I believe, 3 points in the second half after leading. Just a great. This team keeps finding ways to win. You were kind of poking the bear a little bit at me, saying about Penn State as a top 5 team. They usually and so I want to compare this game real quick to that Iowa game a few years back. Yeah. When you go into Iowa, 2 top 5 teams, they lose their starting quarterback. Sean Clifford goes out, and they just crap the bed. This is a totally different team, and they showed it. The defense, they're stronger all over the roster. They actually have a decent backup quarterback, and just the skill position players, the leadership on this team, offensive line, defense, just great. Total different team than that 2021 team under Sean Clifford. So will they beat Ohio State next week? Who knows? But I love the way this team is playing, and they just keep finding ways to win games. Sometimes it's big passing plays, sometimes it's running the running game, sometimes it's defense, sometimes it's special teams, whatever. They just keep finding ways to win, which is what the whole point of what you're trying to do. So that was my fourth game. Those are the 4 games I want to talk about, because really when those are the 4 teams I think are going to make the college football playoff. They're in the best shape: Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, and Wisconsin. And we've got 2 of them are going to play this week. So fun week in the Big Ten. Yeah,
I saw some of the first half of the Indiana game. I mean, that team is just unbelievable.
Yes.
Signetti he is just a man of perfection. You can tell how he paces the sidelines. Nothing's ever good enough. He expects perfection. And I don't mean that negatively.
Right.
He just has very high standards, and he holds everybody accountable to their standards. But amazing, they did the college game day there. I watched a little bit of that. What a beautiful stadium. It was packed, and it was fantastic. So shout out to Indiana for sure.
And Signetti, you and I were texting each other back and forth. You know, they hit a big pass play to the wide receiver, scores a touchdown.
Yes.
Right away, Signetti's coaching that. You go high and tight the whole way until you get into that end zone. And that's what he never stops coaching. That's what he does.
Yeah, it was awesome. So big shout out to them guys. I agree with Oregon. You know, I think you saw Oregon kind of unleash their full playbook against Ohio State. At this point, it's out there. I mean, they may have a couple things left over, but it's pretty much out there. And, you know, are they going to take an easier game, if you will, against, not Illinois is easy, but, you know, just maybe not push the envelope as much? No, I think they are pedal to the metal after the Illinois game. They're going to be pedal to the metal through the rest of the season. They want to blow through everybody. They want the number 1 seed. They want to win the Big Ten title. They want to win the national championship. And they are all systems go right now. So that should be great. And we get the matchup, the Ohio State-Penn State matchup this coming week. That should be a great one as well.
Both game day and big noon kickoff are going to be there. First time ever having both there. So
wow. Biggin, Happy Valley.
Yeah.
Happy Valley's going to be extra happy.
And I'll be there.
And
bright and early.
And the Big Mountain's going to be there.
Big Mountain will be there.
All right, fantastic. Well, with that is our recap for this week. Of course, we're going to be doing our picks. We have to shift our pick episode to Tuesday evening. Our Wednesdays are a bit tight here in the month of November, so we're going to be shifting our days. We're Tuesday this week, live pick episode, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. We hope you can join us. Steve will have more locks. Hope we win some people more money if you're a better. And if not, just hear what Steve has to say about the Big Ten games. He's usually pretty accurate. So with that, hey, we thank you guys for watching. Give this a like and subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.